Hello, this is Thomas with Tomorrow's Collectibles Automotive, and today we're going to talk about what is my favorite car in the fleet. So as you guys heard me talk about in the past, that we have a garage behind us here and a shop in front of us, and I've got some of my favorite cars over here to my right, your left, and behind this and to my left and your right there's a little parking lot of projects that have not been revealed yet on the channel and we're going to get to in the future. There's also a few right over there and a few behind the shop. So if you want to see those cars in the future, make sure you like and subscribe to this video, so when I post the next video, or the next project, or the next drive or walk around or cruise or whatever it is I decide to do with one of those cars, you guys will be notified. So basically we're going to do a good old-fashioned reveal here, and then we're going to talk about, do a walk around and a drive through the scenic part of town. Well, that's not very revealing, is it? Well, of course I'm not going to give it out right away. I mean, who's going to do that? So I'm going to get it out into the sun where you can really see what we're dealing with here, and then we'll take the cover off. Okay, now we're ready for a reveal. Everybody loves this part.
Five minutes later.
So this is my 1989 Peugeot 505 STX V6 sedan. Being a 1989, you may notice some differences that you won't notice on, let's say, an 88 or an 87 or 86 Peugeot or any of the other years. 1989 was the only year for these full bumperettes here, or not bumperettes, these full bumpers. So these were for 1989 only, and in the sedans and the wagons. And as far as importation goes, some people may wonder, where did all these French cars come from? Well, they were all sold in the US up until 1989. So 1989 was the last year that 505 sedans were imported into the US. From 90 to 91 and sometimes 92, the only vehicles left were station wagons. They imported a few station wagons in 90 and 91, and some were titled as 92s, but they were all basically 1989 and 1990 wagons. Peugeots did not sell well in the United States. They did not have a strong dealer service network at the time, so they never became entirely popular. I have quite a few of them. I enjoy them. If you're watching, you probably enjoy them, or you just want to know what the heck this thing is. So that is what this is. So we're going to talk a bit about it, and here in a second I'm going to switch to a different camera angle, and we're going to start walking around it and taking a closer look, and maybe go for a drive through the mountains today and just get some nice time getting the car out of the shop, because it doesn't spend much time outside of there. So being a V6 in 1989, Peugeot did not have their own proprietary V6 engine. It was a joint venture. Most people, if any, will know this as the 2.8 PRV, which stands for Peugeot Renault Volvo Joint Venture Engine. So it's an all aluminum engine, aluminum heads, aluminum block, and it has a Bosch, I believe, Jetronic ignition and injection system on it, and a ZF 4-speed automatic transmission with automatic lockup. The thing that I like about this car is, even though it has a 4-speed transmission, it's a pretty much mechanical 4-speed transmission. There's no real electronics. The lockup converter is governor driven, and all the shifts are controlled by the adjustment of a TV cable. So it's basically devoid of any electronics that can go wrong. So this is the same engine that would have been in a DeLorean, or close to the same engine that would have been in a Volvo 780 or 760 sedan. With a few differences, mind you. They did a slightly different injection system on the Peugeot. It was all done by Bosch, but there was different power ratings. So I believe that this engine made more horsepower than the Volvo 760 or 780 variant, and it made way more power than the DeLorean variant, because DeLorean had a CIS injection system, which means continual fuel injection, I believe, or mechanical style fuel injection, and it was prone to issues. I have not had too many issues with the fuel injection system on this car. I've had very few issues with this car at all. This car has traveled more than 40,000 miles under my tutelage to car shows and whatnot. It's been to Radwood, Los Angeles a few times. It's been to the San Mateo Radwood. It's been to Monterey Car Week a multitude of times. Somebody may have seen it there. Many miles traveled in this car, all trouble-free miles. It's been my most rock-solid steed of all of my 80s and 90s cars, whether it be the projects or just ones I've had a long time. This one has been with me the longest, by far. So, a couple other things to note other than the fact that it has a full bumper kit, side skirt kit, and rear bumper kit. Of course, the plane's gonna fly. Fly anywhere else, huh? Okay, right up me when it's open.
5 minutes later.
Okay. So a few other things to note on this car, other than the full bumper kit, side skirt kit, and rear bumper kit for 1989 is it would have had the US spec headlights. And if you watched my video on the 84 Peugeot, you'll note that that was the US spec headlights, the plastic surround with the US standard sealed beam inside. This has a European headlight conversion, which technically is illegal in the US, but nah, who cares? And they work much better. And I've also got an LED aux beam conversion kit in here that has both yellow and white lights, because if you're familiar with French cars, you'll know that yellow headlights were kind of a standard thing back in the time in France due to road conditions and fog and whatnot. So this has a yellow and a white headlight beam. The grille has been recently replaced. I've got this nice grill badge here, so if people are confused with what that means, they can just go right over here with what that means. And the mirrors have recently been replaced. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to switch camera angles, and I'm going to get some different footage here. Alright, coming around to the back of the car, we're going to talk about a few more things here. So, as I mentioned, this being an 89, it has a full body kit on it. Well, part of the full body kit is these side skirts right here, and this full wraparound rear bumper right here, as well as these tail lights. This license plate panel is all 1989 only. So if you ever see another Peugeot that does not have this full bumper kit on it, but has these lights or this license plate tail panel, it's been swapped on. So you're looking at these wheels, you're going to notice two things if you're a die-hard Peugeot enthusiast in any way. One is that no Peugeot ever came with these wheels. And the other thing you'll notice is the bolt pattern is quite strange for any other car on the road. So this is a 140 on 4 lug bolt pattern. So getting any type of wheel for this car is extremely difficult, because the only vehicles to share a 140 on 4 lug pattern were the late 80s Subarus, like the Subaru Brat, the Subaru GL10, the Subaru Loyal, all late 80s kind of boxy Subaru sedans. I don't know, hatchbacks I believe. Like I said, the Brats, they all had the 140 on 4, but they would have had a 13 or a 14-inch wheel. So if you see a lot of older 80s Subarus and you see a wheel on there, an aluminum wheel that doesn't seem to quite work, and has a lion sitting in the middle of the center cap, because somebody switched on a set of Peugeot wheels because they were 14s and 15s instead of 13s and 14s like most of the Subaru wheels were. The other thing is these wheels were basically custom made. So each one of these wheels is a factory 1987 to 1989 spare. So they were steel wheel spares. I had them powder coated, and then I got these trim rings right here from O'Reilly's many years ago, put them in here, had the lug nuts powder coated, and was able to modify the factory flat dish caps to go inside there to give it kind of a breakaway look. So you won't see another Peugeot with these wheels because I'm the only one that has a Peugeot with wheels that look like this. So there's nothing other really important in the back of the car to talk about other than my sticker collection or my loud exhaust back here that I'm sure nobody cares about too much. And apparently my dog's out and it's going to run around, and you might see him run by. So we're going to switch to another view here and start getting inside this car and talking about it some more. Okay, so here we're going to talk about the car some more. Get a closer look at it. Now, there's more differences in here. If you've seen my previous video in the 1984, you'll notice a huge change inside the cab of this vehicle. Now, you may ask, if you haven't figured it out already, what is that huge change? Well, in 1986 was the first year of the Series 2 interior, which is what this is right here. This interior is Series 2. So they changed the carpet, center console, seats, door panels, pretty much everything in the car got a redesign other than the body. The 505 platform body ran from 1979, I believe, to all the way to 1990 in the US imported cars. And then I think in South America and other countries, they continued to use the 505 body style into the late 90s. I'm not 100% sure on that. So if you've been into another Peugeot that's older than 1986, but not older than 1989, you'll also notice this wheel is different. That's one of the things they changed, was the wheel. The first generation Series 1s had almost exactly the same wheel throughout all the year generations. And then in 1985, for the turbocharged Peugeot, it got its own proprietary wheel that had a turbo emblem right here, and it was a slightly different design. Then the 86 GL models, base model cars, got their own proprietary wheel. Then for 87 and 88, they got basically the same wheel on all of the cars, which I can insert a picture in later if you guys are really concerned. I've got more Peugeots with that wheel in the back. And then in 1989 and 1990, you got this wheel right here. So just some more useless information. If you guys are still sticking in here, I appreciate it. So when I got this car, we're going to talk a little bit about the story here. When I got this car, it was sent to me from a friend of mine in Los Angeles. He was living in Covina at the time, and I'm almost certain it was him that sent me the ad. A great guy. He has lots of Peugeots, just tons of them. He puts me to shame, and I'm almost certain he's the one that sent me the ad for this car. This car was in Napa. It was parked in a boatyard parking lot, and the gentleman that owned this car lived in his boat, and the boat was dry docked. And he let his dog primarily live in this car. I'm not sure what the stipulations was, but this car used to be rarer than it is now, because it used to have the full red interior, which I wish I would have saved that interior and had it redone, but I did not know how rare that interior was at the time. So it used to have I believe it had red door cards, and it had this color down here at the bottom for the cloth insert, and red leather seats, and red carpet inside here, and red carpet down at the bottom, and basically just a full, like, very nice kind of wine Merlot red interior that I wish I would have saved. But at the time, many a year ago, I didn't really have the forethought or the money to try to save that interior. So I had a parts car at the time. It had this interior in it. I pulled this interior out, put it in this car, and that's how this car became a white on gray interior car, because from the factory, this is not what this car was optioned with. And then the car's condition was pretty bad. It didn't have a back window. It had a piece of plywood as a back window. None of the electric windows worked. The car ran pretty well. I drove it back from Napa along with one of my other 1989 cars at the time. It made it back fine. It just wasn't much to look at inside here. So I went through the whole car, got the whole car handled, got it all put back together, got the air conditioning fixed, and got, you know, just the creature comforts all functioning, windows, sunroof, you know, what have you. Got this interior in the car, and I just enjoyed the car. And I've pretty much just enjoyed this car ever since I got it together. It has had some issues, you can imagine, being a car this old, but that's just how it goes. So we're going to start it up here. Runs pretty good. The electric power brake systems are powering up right now, and when it reaches full pressure, that's going to go off. This car has a Tevis Mark II brake system, which, if you know anything about late 80s cars and the electric brake pump, you'll know that they are miserable, they are terrible, they are always going bad, and they're extremely hard to find parts for. One of the reasons why I don't drive this car more is for fear of losing another brake pump. I say another brake pump because I've already had to put 2 of them on this car, used. So I had this nice custom dash cover made to keep the interior from kind of rotting away. The dashboard's pretty decent underneath here. You'll see from all of this, I've been to many Haggerty and RM Sotheby sponsored kind of events. Actually, no, RM Sotheby doesn't sponsor us. It was Haggerty. Yes, there we go. I've been to many Concours de Lemons shows in Monterey. If you're ever in Monterey during Car Week and you can make it to a Concours de Lemons show, I strongly suggest that you go, because it's a great show. And it's been to a couple of races, a Hoopty-Con, been to a couple of Archfriesa-Palooza, 24-hour Lemons Racing League, also a great event to attend if you can. Again, with the Concours de Lemons hat. And some eagle-eyed viewers may notice an old relic sitting in the back seat. Those were car plushes that were, I think, pretty popular in the late 80s or early 90s, and it just so happens that my parents got me a couple of them back in the day. I wish they would have got me more, and I kept them ever since. There's a Firebird right there and a Corvette right there. I know it doesn't match the aesthetic of this car, but they're a collectible keepsake, and I wanted to keep them around. So as I mentioned, 4-speed automatic gearbox, full climate control. Now this car had some cool features we're going to talk about here that were kind of new for the time period. So 1989, having like brake pad wear indicators, that wasn't that fancy. I mean, it was fancy, but it wasn't really new technology. And having like an oil indicator right here. This is a dual stage oil gauge. So you turn the key on, it goes to oil level, and then when you start the car, it switches to oil temperature, as well as it's got a low coolant indicator. None of that stuff was super fancy, but what this car does have that I thought was very ahead of its time for 1989 is it has electronically variable ratio power steering. And I don't remember a lot of cars having that at the time, but what this car has is it has a speed sensor, which unfortunately doesn't work right now, but it has a speed sensor reading the speed of the transmission, going into a computer, going into a variable ratio valve for the power steering that adjusts the amount of assistance that this vehicle will give you dependent on road speed to give you a real world feeling of your road condition. So if you're carving in the canyons or just on the highway, it uses your speed to determine how much assistance to give you while turning the wheel so you can't overdrive or underdrive the car, which I thought is just a big deal for a 1989 personally. It also, like I said, has brake pad wear indicators and dual stage oil gauge and lots of other little fun things that I think are a big deal for the time period. It also has power mirrors, power locks, power windows, power sunroof. So as far as option goes, it's pretty good. Now that the engine shut off, we can walk around the car some more without the engine running in the background. So here's the back seats. As you can see, the condition is not perfect. Like I mentioned, this was a used interior and it was the best I had. Over the years, I've collected quite a bit of literature for Peugeots, which I think that you guys might enjoy. So I've got a couple of magazines here. These were World of Peugeot. I believe they were dealer issued, like little pamphlet magazines that gives you kind of an idea of what the car used to be back in the day, or you know, how these cars are marketed. See, here is a 1989 and newer station wagon. You can tell by the full body kit with the fog light insert, like I mentioned. Here's a 405. They called it the Sport Wagon. This is a base 405 Sport Wagon. You can tell because of the wheel covers right here. Here's a more higher option Sport Wagon, 405. Your engine choices for the 405s, you got the MI16 engine, or you got the base 8-valve engine. More talk of 405s, and I actually had a 405, and that's pretty cool. Here's a cool one for you guys. Right here, the SCCA championships right here. So back in the late 80s, I want to say 86 and 87, Peugeot won a dual championship for the SCCA Club of America, and the car that won was driven by Victor Van Tress, a friend of mine, and the actual car that was used in the race that won the 2 championships was the same car that you can see if you look up an old Peugeot 505 advert with a red car crashing through the window and landing over the bedroom, or landing over the bed. That car that they used to film the commercial was the same car used by Victor Van Tress to win 2 back-to-back SCCA Club championships. And he's named the car Red, and I have driven Red, and it is just a fantastic car. He said he won those races with his radio on and the air conditioning blasting. So a fantastic guy and a fantastic car. Squirrel moment, I apologize. So there was an interesting concept car right there. So as you can see, we got lots of these magazines. I'm not going to go through every single one of them because we'll be here all day, but it's all very cool. If you guys would like me to go through these magazines personally, each one of them on video, just let me know down in the comments. I'll go through every single one of them. Just a great car. I've got lots of literature, accessory categorized. I actually have that bra right there. I've got that. Here's another style wheel you could get. I love those wheels. My personal favorite for wheels on these cars. More magazines, more literature. So excuse the squirrel moment. So as I mentioned, this car's been to Monterey many a time. So we got a track outline. I believe this was for Sonoma, and this car's been on the track at Sonoma. Here's Radwood LA 2018. Roadkill. It's very sad that Roadkill has been discontinued. Great show. It's very sad that it's gone. Radwood. Just lots of stickers to kind of tell the car's journey. Highway 1, great highway. Been on it plenty of times. Citroen Car Club. Radwood 2018. An old stand there. Stan Lee. So we got on this side more literature, more World of Peugeot, more dealer accessories. Here was the GL Edition Turbo base model car. This is the car that was used in the, not this car, but this model of car was used in the race. And this was used in the filming of the commercial with the car driving through the window. It was a GL model, base model, so lightest weight model, which is why they were used for the SCCA, because they were the lightest factory Peugeot 505 you could get, being a base model. No sunroof, no power options, just basic. More literature, more literature. Here's one that I'm going to go over right here. Here is a brochure for the 1989 line of Peugeots, which I think is very, very, very cool. The MI16 engine, 405 interior, full leather. The 405 DL with the cloth interior. The 1989 505 Turbo, just a great color right there. And then here's the 8-valve Chrysler Simca Talbot 2.1 turbo engine paired to the automatic. Here's a full outline of the whole underpinnings of the car. So here's the interior that my car had originally, and I really wish I would have kept it. So this is what my car would have looked like on the inside originally, but it did not have a wood grain insert. I've never seen that before. I'm not sure how that car got that. Here's your S model V6, so a mid-grade model V6. There's the PRV engine, made it to the automatic transmission. Here's the full underpinnings of this particular car. And here's your base model 505 with the hubcap covers. Here's your 505 fully loaded wagon, full leather interior. The turbo SW8. SW8 would stand for the extra third row in the back. Only SW8s had a third row. So just some cool literature about the car. And of course, as you would imagine, Peugeot parking only. So that's just a little bit. And then I've got some old manuals here and just some other stuff that I keep around. And there's that aforementioned wonderful door dinger going off. So these have dual glove boxes. And this has heated seats, fully adjustable leather seats, lumbar support at the back. Basically, any option you can think of in 1989, this car had it. If you want to smoke, I don't smoke, but there you go. Oh look, there's some money in there. I could use that right about now. Sunroof controls, window controls, rear window controls, seat adjustment, wiper adjustment, headlight adjustment, and one fun fact for Peugeots is the horn is on the turn signal stock. You push in on the turn signal stock and that's your horn. Just a fun tidbit of information. This would have been for the PLIP, which I don't have. PLIP was the terminology for the infrared door opener, I believe. Infrared unlocker for the doors. I can't think of what it's called. Excuse my stumbling there for a second. So this is basically the whole car. It's held up very well over the years considering all it's gone through. It does get driven. It's not perfect. The chrome striping on this has started to go. It's a little dirty. I do drive it. It's been in a few wrecks, not by me, but it's been wrecked. We're not going to go into the trunk because I have junk in there and I just don't want to fiddle around with it, but it has a fairly sized trunk that you can fit plenty of stuff in. More of this peeling right here. This fender does not match this car, unfortunately, because this car was in 2 wrecks prior to me owning it. Neither one were my fault. I wrecked before I owned it, but it's got the incorrect fender on it. I do have the correct fender, 1989 and only fender, but the car would need a paint job afterwards, and I don't have the funding for that at the moment. So here, we're going to talk about the Tevis Mark II brake system that sucks, and the 2.8 PRV engine that I don't think sucks, but I'm sure plenty of people that know these cars and these engines would say that it did, but I don't believe that it does. So you had your sensor here for the low coolant. Air conditioning compressor on top. Like I said, full aluminum. I believe this was an odd fire V6 engine. This is some protectant I put up here to keep the engine kind of quieter and to keep the temperature control better underneath this hood. Unfortunately, the glue is starting to let go, so I have to get up under here and glue it back up again. Now, this car has been driven, it's been used, it's been fixed with what I had. It's not perfect under the hood, but it's a runner and it's a driver, and it will get me where I need to go because it has done it. So that about covers the inside of the car. And now we're gonna set up a camera and go drive it around for a bit. And just put some miles on it because gotta get them out and gotta drive them. Sunset cruise through one of my favorite places to visit. And if you're ever in the Reno, Carson City area, I strongly suggest you come and visit. This is Virginia City. It's a quaint little tourist-themed western town that was a big town during the gold rush boom. And it's very lovely. We have tons of events here. It's all 1800s buildings. Everything's, you know, Wild West themed, and just tons of events here during the year. It's popular year-round. As you can see right here, just how much traffic and attention and how many things are going on right now. It is just it's the day after Thanksgiving, and the place is just packed. I mean, there's a car in every spot there is for there to be a car in. And I just wanted to talk about this place real quick because it's one of the favorite places that I like to come up and visit and drive through just kind of whenever. So on this little sunset cruise, I decided to take a cruise through here in the 89 505, and hopefully you guys enjoy it too. All right, thank you. enjoyed that little bit right there, the little cruise through town. Like I said, if you're ever in Nevada, in the Carson City, Reno area, I strongly suggest taking a trip up to Virginia City. And now we're going to cruise over to Gold Hill, another fantastic little place. And if you ever want a good meal, may I suggest the Gold Hill Saloon and Hotel. The restaurant in there is fantastic, and in Virginia City, the Palace has fantastic food. So we're just going to continue this little cruise here. And I hope you guys enjoy. This little crossing right here is a crossing for the old V&T Railroad. I think, again, if you're ever in town during the season that the railroad train runs, you can see it over there to the right. You probably just barely caught it in the view. That's their V&T Winter Light Parade train. Wonderful. And then during the summer, they run their original steam engine, and it is just fantastic. I've taken a trip, so if you're ever in town, check out the V&T Railroad. Right here to the right is the Gold Hill Bar and Crown Point Restaurant. Fantastic food. They do weddings. It's just a great place. We're driving through Gold Hill right now, just slightly down the hill from Virginia City, and another important town during the gold rush boom in the 1800s here in Nevada. Lots and lots of rich history in Nevada, especially if you enjoy antiques and the gold rush boom, and the times of the 1800s, kind of like the Wild West. And I really enjoy those things, as well as 80s and 90s cars, obviously. And I don't know a ton, but what I do know, I'd like to share with anyone who's willing to listen. So that pretty much finishes up Gold Hill, and then this cruises into Carson City, and then we'll head back after that. All right. Some of you may remember from the Peugeot 505 diesel video just how long it took to get to 60 miles an hour. Well, I can say luckily that this car is quite a bit different in the way of the diesel, because they will tell you that the V6 is underpowered, but you compare it to the diesel and it's got plenty of power. If you think something's not fast enough, just drive something slower. All right, we're gonna floor it. So it can achieve the speed limit much better. project car or my favorite collector car of the entire fleet. And although all of my cars are a project in some way, this one holds a special place in my heart. And I hope you guys enjoyed my rambling about this car and the little sunset cruise that I took it on. If you like the content, please subscribe. If there's any criticism that you know would like me to know about, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Or if you like the video, let me know down in the comments. I enjoyed doing this. My videos might be a little bit all over the place, and I apologize for that, but I do my best. And I don't script any of my videos, so all of my rambling-ons are right off the cuff ramblings. So I do hope you enjoyed this. This is Thomas from